You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 Gov.biz Radio, a CBS station.
Welcome to Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan, and you're listening to us on CBS radio station Gov.biz 1580 AM in the Washington, D.C. area, or on the web, WMClive.com, where you can also find links to podcasts of all our previous shows. And we want to hear from you. Tweet us at hashtag WMCLive or email us at womensmediacenterlive@gmail.com. The team of Women's Media Center Live is taking a break during the holidays, a week off. But we've stitched together a little gift for you, a bit of a quilt comprised of some of our, as they say, previous greatest hits that you told us you specifically liked. So you get to overhear my rather hilarious vagina conversation with book author and New Yorker writer Ariel Levy. Then fiery Egyptian journalist and feminist Mona Eltahawy talks about how, amid all the Cairo upheavals, women are fighting an epidemic of sexual harassment and assault. Many of you commented with pleasure about our conversation with the Muskogee Creek and Cherokee poet Joy Harjo, and especially about the prose poem Joy read on air, so here she is again. Finally, back by popular demand, our two-segment special with Jane Fonda, friend, actor, author, fitness maven, activist, and co-founder with Gloria Steinem and myself of the Women's Media Center. Jane and I range freely in this conversation over sex, aging, her childhood, my childhood, feminism, acting, writing, sex, decorating a new house, and, sex. No commentaries from me this week. I'm saving my wordsmithing to finish the last tweaks of revision on my new novel over the break and write some more poems for my next collection. So, no behind the headlines this week or verbal karate or fighting words. Instead, a holiday chorus of women's voices, from the wit of Ariel to the lyricism of Joy, from Mona's smarts to Jane's wisdom. So on behalf of the Women's Media Center Live team, and in fact the whole WMC, I wish you a peaceful, laughter and love-filled holiday season. We'll see you in the new year, for which we're planning lots of surprises, informational, inspirational, and just plain fun. Ariel Levy is the author of the book Female Chauvinist Pigs, Women and the Rise of Raunch, R-A-U-N-C-H, Raunch Culture, a smart and funny book. And she's a writer for The New Yorker, and when we first had this conversation, she had just recently reviewed Naomi Wolf's new book about the vagina. So we discussed that rather amusingly, and the many different shades, 50 and onward, of gray. Here's that conversation. You recently wrote a hilarious and smart article for The New Yorker.
Thank you.
Well, had me rolling on the floor. So talk about that. It was a review of Naomi Wolf's new book, and also, in passing, a review of 50 Shades of Grey and all the other shades of gray.
Yes, many shades of gray. Well, I'll just start by saying, with the 50 Shades of Grey book, based on what I had read, I was expecting the story of O. I was expecting, because it's been, I think, interpreted by many, by Tina
as
Brown and Barbara Walters, as a kind of inconvenient referendum on feminism, right. that this proves that what women really want is to be hurt and demeaned. Well, you read the books. I mean, don't read the books because it's boring and they're long. But I'm here to tell you, it's not about a man demeaning a woman. It's about a man worshiping a woman.
Huh. But he hits her?
There's some spanking.
I see.
But mostly it's Cinderella with spankings. Mostly it's this guy who the books were written as fan fiction, as a kind of homage to the Twilight series, and it's very vampire-y.
So they're like Gothic novels in a sense.
Yeah, except
not in the Bronte style, we could say.
Yeah, but they're also not even that in the other style. They're more like, if anybody ever read Sweet Valley High when they were in high school, it's like the protagonist, this the seductress, all she says all the time is, geez, and holy cow, geez, this is hot. Like that. I mean, it's like,
so it's like Gothic novel crossed with Buffy.
Or Gidget.
Or Gidget. But not even Buffy. Okay.
But anyway, I mean, so it's really about this, this is how story of this book is. After she loses her virginity to him, the morning after he introduces her to his mother. I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, it's Cinderella. It's a man who worships a woman and protects her and buys her cars and security guards and is obsessed with her safety. And it's also about perfect domesticity. It's very much about stuff and getting stuff. Okay. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, the reason I read all those books was because I was interested to see if there was any crossover with Naomi Wolf's new book, which is called Vagina, a new biography. And
the biography is of the vagina, not of Naomi.
No, it's of the vagina. Although we learn a lot about Naomi.
Okay. Oh, well, we do.
A lot about her vagina.
Okay. Oh, go on.
But basically, Christian Grey, the guy who's the hero of the 50 Shades of Grey book, is the hero, I would say, that Naomi Wolf is seeking.
Really?
In vagina. Because what she's saying is that, first of all, the vagina is coextensive with the female brain.
See, I have a problem with that.
I thought you might.
Yeah.
I did as well.
I mean, I'm very fond of my vagina, but I
love
really,
my vagina,
really, really love my brain.
I know, exactly.
Which is the most erotic, I think, part of my body, my brain.
Well, and Naomi also says that
if my brain's not turned on, my vagina is kind of sitting there waiting for hello, brain, are you?
Well, you're saying that your brain's in charge and your vagina's part of the operation, and Naomi's saying
because if I'm catatonic, I don't think my vagina cares.
I think that's true.
Yeah,
but she's saying the vagina is the rightful site of mission control. That we should listen more to our vaginas.
Well, we probably should listen to more.
To a point, I think if you put the vagina in charge of the whole, the vagina's not a team player.
Oh, it is not.
I don't think. I think the vagina wants what it wants.
I think that's true. At least of my vagina, and clearly
and you let her be in charge, and you can find yourself in all sorts of trouble.
Has anybody checked in with Eve Ensler on this? Because vagina is her territory.
Yeah, right. She owns the vagina. Well, we'll see what Eve has to say about all this. I mean, the thing that I think is the strangest, the most outlandish claim in the new Naomi Wolf book is that she says that the strangest is that the vagina is coextensive with the female brain.
Yeah, we spent a few hundred years, I think, it seems to me. I wasn't around for all of them, although some days it seems like I was. Yeah, that a lot of time trying to convince men, first ourselves, and then men, and then governments, and then the world.
Then ourselves again.
And then ourselves again. That we had brains, and we weren't just vaginas, and our vaginas did not control who we were and define who we were.
It's
so
very interesting
a little bit
to me.
Regressive.
Very interesting to me that I think what in many ways, many things set the so-called second wave of feminism apart from the first, but one of them was that your generation added not only the personal but the physical to the political.
That's right.
And
the clitoris.
And the clitoris,
we
that's
were fond
right.
Of we discovered the clitoris. Well, we didn't discover it, but we rediscovered it, and we thought, oh my God. And so there were amazing papers written and ovulars given and meetings about that this was the one organ in either the male or the female body that seemed to have absolutely no purpose but pleasure.
Right.
And that it was a myth, the vaginal orgasm. Although later on that became that there were many kinds of orgasms. We're virtuosos, apparently, women. But the clitoris, which had been so ignored because it wasn't where men went when men went to the vagina, we were affirming the clitoris.
Well, Naomi Wolf cleaves from her feminist foremothers in this book in several ways. One is by situating the essence of the female being back in the body, not in the brain, and going against, I think if your generation said, look, we've been sold a false bill of goods by everybody from Descartes to Hugh Hefner, who tried to posit men versus women, reason versus emotion, brain versus body.
There you
she's
go.
Putting us back in the body, one. And two, she's accusing your generation of over-glamorizing the clitoris and denigrating the vagina, and I think more I think she really sounds to me like a very graphic and gynecological George Will when she says that feminists and pornographers alike demoted the vagina to a kind of mechanism and made sex about the mechanics of orgasm, and she calls it debased. I mean, I think she sounds very much like all the conservatives for decades who have sort of accused feminists and pornographers and many other groups of being kind of part of this nihilistic, irresponsible, godless.
But because feminists have been the ones saying that the problem with pornography is that it is about body parts and it is about domination, and the best sex is about amity and laughter and friend. If you bring it out into the sunlight, and so it's whether it's spiritual or not, it is at least friendly. You know, I mean, it is good sex, and it is something at the woman's behest.
It's not at someone's expense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't understand.
She's saying something different about pornography too. She's saying that pornography, rather than porn is the theory, rape is the practice.
Yes.
She's saying porn is making people impotent and desensitized, and they're inundated by so much sex that they no longer want real sex. But I don't find that persuasive either. I haven't read. She's not big on data or science, and I don't see any evidence of that.
I confess I'm fond of science.
I know you are.
And the scientific method. I think it's not a bad thing at all, you know. I mean, and so I could use a little more of that.
Well, that's why I think it'll amuse you to know that in this book she says that calling the vagina, if you bully a woman by insulting her vagina, is Naomi Wolf's turn of phrase, by which she means slandering the vagina,
yes,
calling it by its feline moniker or the C word. If you do that, you will change the tissue of the vagina.
Oh dear, that sounds very unscientific.
And she bases this on an experiment in which rats, after periods of stress, showed signs of change in their vaginal tissue. So you're probably wondering if the way they did the experiment was to have a bunch of technicians yell, rat pussy, at these rats, and then check their vaginal tissue. But that's not how it was done.
That's not how. Tell us quickly, because we have to go, but tell us about the yoni tapper, because in that part of your piece made me absolutely gasp for air.
So Naomi's into this spiritual stuff, and bringing us back to Christian Grey and pornography, right? Because that's what I think, she's advocating a certain kind of vagina worship where the vagina is running the show, and vagina, I'm all for vagina worship. I just don't think the vagina should run the show, because we do have, if God had wanted us to think from our wombs, why did he give us a brain?
She wouldn't have done that.
Yes, she wouldn't have done that. Anyway, she's very taken with this guy, this former investment banker who's become a yoni tapper. He's become like a vagina man. And
yoni tapper.
He's a yoni tapper, and
you also said that he said he wouldn't sleep with anyone.
Oh, he tells her, I don't have intercourse with my clients unless it's extremely therapeutic.
Unless it's extremely therapeutic. Oh my God. Anyway, you're hilarious and witty and funny and wonderful as always, and smart.
Well,
and I have the feeling you're thinking with your brain.
I mean, sometimes with downstairs, but let this part run the show, I'd say.
Yes, I think that's a good idea. Thank you for coming and being with us.
Thank you for having me and inspiring me and so many of the rest of us.
You have to read her books and her articles, because she's as funny in them as she is now, here with us. After Hurricane Sandy, parts of the East Coast have returned to normal, but others won't see normal again for quite some time. One group getting volunteers and aid supplies to those who need it is called Occupy Sandy. Made up of a coalition of Occupy Wall Street activists, community organizers, and technologists, Occupy Sandy is using social media and other software tools to identify and quickly respond to urgent needs among the hardest-hit communities. You can help. To donate or to volunteer, visit occupysandy.org.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 gov.biz radio, a CBS station.
And we're back with Mona Eltahawy, the Egyptian-American journalist, feminist, wonderful troublemaker person. Tell us about what the work you've been doing on sexual harassment in Egypt.
One of the things that I hope to do when I return to Cairo, because I'm moving back from New York to Cairo, is to work with all the fantastic feminist groups on the ground and human rights activists who, for a long time now, have been fighting against street sexual harassment and sexual violence of all kinds. One of the best campaigns that I'm a huge fan of is called HarassMap. And what HarassMap does is it uses a crowdsourced platform developed by a group called Ushahidi in Kenya, which I think means witness or to bear witness. And,
yes,
and what it does is that it encourages women who have been harassed or sexually assaulted in any way on the streets of Cairo to text message or call or send a Facebook message or tweet to the HarassMap campaign. And what they do then is they put this red spot on a map of Cairo, and you click on the red spot and then you read the testimony of the woman who has reported.
Excellent.
And what it does, it basically shows you kind of like the hot areas so that you know which areas are particularly bad, but it's also a way of collecting documents and holding authorities accountable, so that when the group goes to legislators, when we have a parliament again, or when it goes to the police or law enforcement, it can say to them, look how many cases we document. That just shows you that the police aren't taking this seriously, and it shows you that we need a much stronger law enforced, and you need to take women seriously when they make these complaints.
Wow. And when you and I last talked about the state of the women's movement per se in Egypt post the first uprising, I don't call it Arab Spring anymore. It's not a season; it's a climate. But you were concerned because the groups were in schism. They weren't necessarily working together, which is understandable because there has hardly been a lot of time to practice under dictatorship. What is the state now? Are people beginning to reach across and coalesce, or what?
I think we've reached a stage in Egypt where people understand that with a president from the Muslim Brotherhood movement and a still very powerful military, we're caught between a very bad rock and a very horrible hard place.
Yes.
Because you're talking about two sides of one coin, authoritarian, totalitarian, doesn't believe in civil liberties, and for whom and for which women's rights are absolutely at the bottom of any totem pole or hierarchy.
Yeah.
And one of the highlights of my last visit to Cairo was attending a meeting that veteran feminist Mona Eltahawy called, in which she brought together various feminist groups, women and men, who are interested in focusing on women's rights at this very, very sensitive stage in Egyptian history. We still don't have a constitution and we don't have a parliament, and the constitution is currently being written by a group, mostly men, who I would not hesitate to call misogynists, many of whom actually believe it's okay for a girl who's only 9 to marry, and many of whom are not concerned with women's rights at all. So we recognize that this is a very sensitive time, and if we don't jump on this, it will jump on us. And so Mona Eltahawy is trying to coordinate all the various groups on the ground into an initiative, but I know her initiative is one of at least 3. So I think women's rights activists are looking around now saying, okay, look, there are so many of us, we're doing very similar work, let's get together, because we need that power of us together to fight against this misogyny, to fight against this hatred of women, to fight against the military and the fundamentalist movement for whom women's rights are not a priority.
And also so that no one group has to reinvent the light bulb because it doesn't know what another group is doing.
Exactly. There's so much fantastic work going on. There's no need to duplicate what other people are doing. Let's just get together. You know, one of the most touching moments in that night was when a senior citizen got up and she had her walking stick with her, and she said, look, I want you guys to help me go out there and protest, because I want to protest with you, but I need help here, because I want to know when I can come out, and I want to know that you young kids out there can actually protect me, so that if they attack our protest, I can stay standing and not have to be knocked over or be hurt. So can we coordinate this, please? And so everyone looked around and said, yes, we must.
That's very cool. I need some of these people. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to need exactly the same. Tell a little bit about, which I find especially exciting, the book that I can't wait to read, that I can't wait to help promote, say, I'm very excited about this.
I have such bad attention deficit disorder that I have managed to put off writing a book for years and years, but now I think finally I'm about to burst, so I must. So I'm writing a book that is based on an essay I wrote a few months ago called Why Do They Hate Us? And this essay caused a huge ruckus, because the point that I was making is that a lot of the misogyny that we experience as women in the Middle East and North Africa Africa is driven by sheer hatred for women.
Yes.
Clearly, and obviously, this isn't just limited to that region or that part of the world.
You think?
It's global, I'm sure, but that's where I come from, and so that's the region that I can most talk about. So I want to write a book that I'm determined to call Headscarves and Hymens.
Headscarves and Hymens.
Headscarves and Hymens, because it's my
such a
intention.
wimp. You just don't take risks. You just, what a pity. If you only had a spine, Mona.
I'm trying to provoke women. Let's see how far I can go with this. No, it's my contention that for women in the Middle East and North Africa, we've come to a point where it's all about what's on our heads, the headscarves, and what's in between our legs, the hymens. So whether you're talking about female genital mutilation or the so-called virginity tests, i.e. sexual assault and rape enacted upon female revolutionaries in Egypt by the military, it really is about headscarves and hymens. And one of those women who survived these horrendous virginity tests and sued the Egyptian military, a young woman called Samira Ibrahim, she told a great story during this meeting that Noel Saadawi called. She said, listen people, we need to get working women in these meetings, because I know this woman who was selling vegetables. She was selling arugula somewhere, and this extremist, this Islamist came up to her and said, woman, you're not covered properly. And you know what she did? She took off her blouse and said, how do you like me now? So those are the kind of stories that I want to document, but also the kind of violations that we have to recognize. But, also one of the things what my book wants to do is to say that we have to identify as feminists. The time where all of these amazing young women who are saying, no, it's not about women's rights, it's about everyone's rights. I understand that. But we're at a critical moment in our history, in the region. And the way we fight it is by identifying it as such. We are feminists, and we draw upon this wonderful history of Noel Saadawi, of Doré Shafi, who invaded the Egyptian parliament with 1,500 women in the 50s, of Hoda Sha'arawi, who in 1923 removed her face
took off
veil.
her veil, yes.
We're feminists, and we're here, and we're fighting.
Yeah, I think it's the most important front there is in the global women's movement is what women are doing in the Middle East, and the most courageous and the most just important for all of us, because if it can be done there, it can be done everywhere. And it also, if we are not for us, then who is? It doesn't mean that we've been saying, some of us, for 40 years, it isn't about excluding men, but it is about, for once, focusing on women who, happen to be the majority of the species.
Yeah, and without that social revolution that is driven by women's rights, the political revolution will fail.
Exactly.
Because these are revolutions against patriarchy.
Yeah, and you can't have democracy with only half the people.
Absolutely.
So I'm so glad you're back. I already have separation anxiety for when you go again. Moving there really panics me. You're moving there. My moving there would really panic me, too. But we'll have to make the most of it while you're here. And thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for everything you do. But thank you also for coming here today to be with Women's Media Center Live.
Robin, thank you for your inspiration and encouragement, and I will be back, I promise you, for regular visits.
You better.
If you ever need an organ transplant, you will probably die before you get one. Thousands of Americans die waiting every year. You can improve your odds by joining LifeSharers, and it's free. Visit lifesharers.org or call 888-ORGAN-88. LifeSharers puts organ donors first. When you join LifeSharers, you get preferred access to the organs of other members. This could literally save your life. Join LifeSharers today. There's no age limit. Parents can enroll their minor children, and no one is excluded due to any pre-existing medical condition. Call 888-ORGAN-88 or visit lifesharers.org. That's LIFESHARERS.org. LifeSharers. It's free. It could save your life.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 Gov.biz Radio, a CBS station.
Our next guest is Joy Harjo, who is a poet, the first sister poet that I've been able to welcome to Women's Media Center Live, and as a poet that gives me great joy. well, literally great joy. She's also a musician and an author. She has played a formidable role in what's been called the second wave of the Native American Renaissance. She's a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation and of Cherokee descent. Many awards, the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Native Writers Circle of the Americas, the Penn Open Book Award, but mostly a musician, a poet, an organizer, a visionary. Oh, Joy, welcome to Women's Media Center Live, and thank you for being with us.
Yeah, I'm glad I could be here, and it's nice to hear your voice after so long. I haven't talked to you in a long time. I know.
We're busy saving the world, Joy, and there's, sometimes there's not enough time for saving ourselves and each other. Before I forget, I want to talk about the memoir that you just published, Crazy Brave, because it's wonderful, and talk about it.
Yes, this memoir just came out from Norton, and it's a memoir that took me 14 years to write. It begins when the releaser of Soul. It begins with a vision I had, actually, in which I was taken out, way out, so I could really see the earth and saw the connection and how we're in a huge story matrix of so many levels. And I saw how all the stories are connected. So in a sense, my memoir is like waves of stories that begin when the releaser of souls sends me, when I come to this earth, to my particular parents and to my particular generation, and ends at the point where I've basically had kind of a breakdown, but I didn't have the luxury of a breakdown because I was a mother with 2 children and they depended on me, so I had to keep going. And it was at that time that poetry, the spirit of poetry, came to me, and that's when I was in my very early 20s. I wanted to write about the 70s, the 80s, and everything going on then, and to write about more glamorous kinds of things. But the reason it took me 14 years is because I kept running away from this book which goes to the crucible of childhood and the crucible of coming into consciousness in a world in which our lands have been stolen, in a world in which there was great change, with my generation and our generation, and yet, there was a great cost. Everything always costs something, and yet great gifts came out of it too.
So this is a book from a very deep place.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it was. Somebody asked me recently, said, how do you feel with this being out in the world? And because it is very revealing, and I'm even as public as I am, I'm a very private person, but the story wanted to be told.
Stories are everything, aren't they? I mean, they're the stuff of life. The novel I just finished is all about stories and storytelling. And the older I get, the more I realize that's it. I mean, there's no meaning except in narrative, in our stories. And of course, native peoples have always known that. But for those of us who were not born indigenous, it's been a learning process.
Well, I think if you look at all cultures have indigenous roots. I mean, in
sure.
Roots that go back to storytelling, and in roots where poetry doesn't exist in books necessarily, but it's considered a living being. Although poetry in books is living, it's just another form. And I love books, but it exists with poetry and music and dance are very close together. In fact, they get lonely when they're not together.
Yes. And so that you are a musician as well. When you perform, do you do a mix of the poetry? I haven't seen you in too many years. A mix of the poetry and the music, or straight poetry? Yes. You do. Usually,
even if I do a keynote, I'm often mixing music into.
That I remember.
It's kind of a weave. It's a weave, and yet I like to just play hardcore music. I had a great gig recently at the New Mexico Jazz Workshop with some great musicians, and invited Cornelius Eady to play with me, to sing. So it takes a lot of forms, but the poetry is never far away from music.
Yeah, it's the bedrock, isn't it? The poetry. I mean, I've often thought that if I had to be in a situation where I couldn't write fiction again, or I couldn't write nonfiction political books again, I would be cranky, but I could live with that. But if somebody told me that I would never write another poem, I think I would find it a contradiction to be on this planet, in this skin. Can't imagine.
It's soul talk. Yeah, it's soul talk, and it's soul food in a way that, stories. One time I was thinking, well, what use are human beings in this biosphere? Do we serve any purpose at all?
We tell stories. But we tell stories.
Yes, and that's what we do. We make the connections, and we tell. That's what we do from the time we, even at night while we think we're sleeping, we're gathering stories, and then texting is part of story gathering. Writing, telephones. Cell phones, etc.
Well, speaking of stories and poems, would you help us celebrate the un-Columbus Day that we're having by turning it on its head, by giving us a poem or a piece of writing?
I think this one would be the best. It's called Rabbit is Up to Tricks. This is the best one. When you say turning it on its head, this is the best one for that.
Okay, all right.
And Rabbit is the trickster figure in my tribe. And this is a contemporary trickster story, but told in kind of the older manner. And it was the opening for a play I did called Wings of Night Sky, Wings of Morning Light. And it also appears in Crazy Brave. In a world long before this one, there was enough for everyone until somebody got out of line. We heard it was Rabbit, fooling around with clay in the wind. Everybody was tired of his tricks and no one would play with him, and he was lonely in this world. So Rabbit thought to make a person. And when he blew into the mouth of that crude figure to see what would happen, the clay man stood up. Rabbit showed the clay man how to steal a chicken. The clay man obeyed. Then he showed him how to steal corn. The clay man obeyed. Then he showed him how to steal someone else's wife, and that clay man obeyed. Rabbit felt important and powerful, and Clayman felt important and powerful, and once that Clayman started, he could not stop. Once he took that chicken, he wanted all the chickens. Once he took that corn, he wanted all the corn. And once he took that wife, he wanted all the wives. He was insatiable. Then he had a taste of gold, and he wanted all the gold. Then it was land and anything else he saw. His wanting only made him want more. Soon it was countries, then it was trade. The wanting infected the earth. We lost track of the purpose and meaning for life. We began to forget our songs. We forgot our stories. We could no longer see or hear our ancestors or talk with each other across the kitchen table. Now, Rabbit couldn't find a drink of fresh water. Forests were being mowed down all over the world to make more. And Rabbit had no place to play. Rabbit's trick had backfired. Rabbit tried to call the Clayman back, but when the Clayman wouldn't listen, Rabbit realized he'd made a Clayman with no ears.
Oh, that's a wonderful one. You're very aptly named, I must say.
I've had to grow into it. I'm kind of crabby naturally.
Well, it wouldn't be, but it wouldn't be worth it if you had just, fallen into it. Then you'd be a Hallmark card. No, I mean,
yeah, I guess so.
Growing into it means you've really earned it. What is coming up for you? Are you going to be gigging around? Are you starting a new book? We've got a minute or two left, so tell us what lies ahead.
Actually, I'm working on I get a commission for a play script at the Public Theater for a story that will reinstate Native people, particularly Southeastern Native people, to the stories of the origins of blues and jazz.
Wonderful! Oh my God, that's fascinating. In the origins of blues and jazz.
Yes, we've been left out of the story, and yet we were there.
Oh, that's so cool. And when eagerly, greedily, I say, you haven't written it yet, but when...
No, right now I'm researching. I'm researching in all kinds of corners.
So it'll be a while.
Yeah, but I plan to. We may have like a kind of reading of it, certainly by the fall.
In New York?
Yes, in New York.
Will you promise to let me know so I can be there with all ears, unlike Clayman?
Yes.
Oh, Joy, thank you so much for being with us. This has been really exactly what I would hope it had been. I mean, to take a Columbus Day. And I think we should rename Columbus Day First Peoples Worldwide Day.
Or something like that.
Reclaim it from conquest and make it just shift the weight and the gravity to what was really important and what could save the planet with utterly different values.
Well, there have been moves to do that, but so far, people really, cling to Columbus Day. So.
Yeah, well, because they like patriotism and parades. We'll just have to give them better parades and moderate the make it matriotism or something.
That sounds good to me.
Along with the matrilineal line. Thank you, and much love to you and in your work, and I will be watching for the new play. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us, Joy. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
"40 years ago this January, the Supreme Court decision Roe v. Wade guaranteed women's right to choose abortion. In 1977, Congress ended this right for the most vulnerable women when it passed the Hyde Amendment, banning Medicaid coverage of abortion. The National Network of Abortion Funds works to restore coverage while helping women pay for the procedures they need. You can help too. To learn more or donate so no woman is forced to carry an unwanted pregnancy to term, go to fundabortionnow.org.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 gov.biz radio, a CBS station.
And we're now with Jane Fonda, who is my dear sister in arms and co-founder, along with Gloria Steinem, of the Women's Media Center, and who, as you may have noticed, is also a whole lot of other things. She's coming to us from her new house in Los Angeles. Are you there, Jane?
I'm here. I is here, Robin. Old pal. Yes, I'm sitting in my new office, which I love because I can look out at nature and nurture, and for nurture, I look across at a picture of my dad at 17 as an Eagle Scout. Drop dead, gorgeous, handsome, and next to that is a photograph of him, 65, 70 years later, and me, and on Golden Pond, and they bring me comfort and perspective.
That was one great film.
Yeah.
So the new house is a happy place, yes?
It is a happy, scary place. Scary because I spent, I was shacked up with Richard for 3.5 years in a house that Reagan built, Ronald Reagan, that is, where he had lived for 38 years. And, when you're shacked up, you can just get up and walk away. But we bought a house together.
Oh, that is very scary.
It is, but it's fun. It's a fun house, and we're enjoying it a lot. I'm getting over my fear, I think.
Well, you're a nester, and you furnish amazingly, and before you know it, it's a whole new home.
Yeah. And this is a solar house, and it belonged to a very great guy, and there were, I'm told, more Democratic Party fundraisers in this house than just about anywhere else in Beverly Hills. So the vibes are good.
Vibes are good. Vibes are, very good. All right. So listen, let's get some of your accomplishments out of the way, because we could spend 6 hours on the phone just talking about them. Talk about the videos and how come you did the new videos, the new set of videos on fitness and health and stuff for older people, and what's happened with the videos.
Well, I thought I was out of the workout business, frankly, some time ago, but I spent 3.5 years writing a book called Prime Time about, how to go through what I call your third act, the last third of your life successfully and healthfully and, in the best way possible. And in the course of I did a lot of research. I traveled all over the country and met with all kinds of doctors and experts. And one of the things that really struck me was the importance of staying physically active. And I mean, people like Dr. Oz would probably say it's the number one important thing, that doesn't mean running marathons and stuff like that, but it means staying getting up and down and remaining independent and going for walks and swimming or riding bikes or dancing. We do a lot of dancing here in this house. This is very important, and it was clearly such a powerfully important thing with age that I decided who better than moi to go back into the business of making, well, now they're not videos anymore, DVDs, for people who are older or people who have never done it in their lives. And so I began, they're called Prime Time, and there's all kinds of, I've come out with 5. My 5th one is yoga, and it's coming out at the end of the year. And it just warms the cockles of my heart. By the way, you and I should discuss that time what cockles mean. Anyway,
I know.
Cockles of my heart, to get feedback from people who are a woman who she was 80, and her son gave her one of the DVDs, and she said, it's changed my life. I've never exercised before, and it's made all the difference.
This is, I mean, I know you know this, but our listeners might not know, but this is especially important for women because we old women are the largest single demographic in the history of this country, boomer women. And we tend to outlive men. So there are all of these women who have outlived their men and who are ready for 2nd, 3rd, and like cats, 8th lives. And we need to be fit to do it.
That's right. We live longer than men on average, about 5 years longer, which has shrunk. We used to live 8 years longer. But people are tending to live longer, a whole second adult lifetime longer. And in that demographic, women are the biggest.
Yes.
Part of the longevity revolution, and it's true. And so if we have this second adult lifetime been granted us, the question is why? What are we supposed to do with it? How are we supposed to use our time? And obviously, if we keep our container strong and healthy and do all we can to remain independent, then everything else comes along with it, our souls, our spirits,
I was just going to say, it translates into agency, into power,
That's right. The old paradigm of aging was you're born, you peak in midlife, and then you decline into decrepitude, right?
Boring.
And I discovered a new metaphor for it, which is ascending a staircase. Your body may be weakening in some ways, but you are, on a spiritual, emotional, psychological level, you're really rising up. You're gaining wisdom, especially if you've paid attention and tried to become wiser and learn from mistakes. And you're happier. One of the reasons I wanted to write the book was because in my mid-60s, I towards the end of my 60s, I realized I was happier than I'd ever been. And I thought, wait a minute, this isn't what I expected.
Me too.
And at that point, I read a quote by Picasso that said, it takes a long time to become young.
Yeah.
I'm living that. And so I thought, well, am I unique? And I discovered, no, I'm not, that most people over 50, men, women, single, divorced, it doesn't matter, tend to have a greater sense of well-being. I don't know if happy is the right word, but we tend to...
Fulfilled. Contentment.
Yeah. We're not as stressed. We don't hang on to negativities. We see commonalities between people more than differences. We're more forgiving. We don't make mountains out of molehills.
In Prime Time, the book, you also wrote about intimacy and sex, but not necessarily at the same time. I mean, you can have intimacy without sex and vice versa. Nice to have them together. And you also wrote about how the full fruition of that came to you, more particularly intimacy, with age.
Yes, that's quite common for those who have wanted to continue to be sexually active. A lot of people were very surprised that I went into so much detail about sex in the book. But I said at the beginning of that section, look, a lot of women have closed up shop down there, and they've had a great love, they don't want another one, or they just never really cared that much, and they just don't want to continue down that particular pathway. But for those who do want to remain sexually active, it's important to know what's going on with our bodies, because you can mitigate a lot of the changes if you know what to do. And that ranges from sex toys to lubricants to fantasies to masturbation to a lot of things that old people engage in, but you don't talk about it very much. And I decided it was important to talk about it, and I'm getting a lot of thanks for that from men and women.
I'm not surprised. At all. I mean, the relationship with Richard, which you've talked about and written about, is very touching. And you did something on television with the two of you dancing that made tears come to my eyes.
Oh, We do. That's one form of exercise that we engage in. We dance together a lot. He has a jukebox, and we and we dance. And he's a music producer, so he's got a lot of great music. And intimacy is interesting. There's a coming together of the sexes, a gender balancing that takes place that we didn't understand a long time ago, but now we're beginning to realize that as men lose testosterone and in proportion estrogen rises in men, and the opposite is true of women, testosterone rises in relation to estrogen, which women tend to lose, we become, the woman who said, oh, God, whatever you want, honey, becomes hey, listen, I'm going to go out to my yoga class. Would you take the clothes to the cleaners?
Right.
But at the same time, men tend to become more nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
Men who were not great fathers first time around become fabulous grandfathers.
Yeah.
Or out here in California, men in their 70s marry young women who have babies, and they turn out to be great fathers.
Yeah. It's a little hard on the children of the first marriage, but what the hell?
Well, it's not easy on the women of the children of the last marriage either.
That's right.
He comes to graduation in a wheelchair. But anyway, it's a very nice thing that happens between men and women who want to remain romantic and involved and intimate, whether there's sex involved or not. It's very, very beautiful, and I was happy to write about it. It was fun to research and write about it, and I'm experiencing it myself.
This is good. This is very good. It's very nice for your friends to see that happening. I want to talk briefly about other things that has been happening in thy life, like the career resurrection, the Better Living Through Chemistry movie, the Butler movie, and so forth. But first, tell a little bit about Better Living Through Chemistry.
Well, I got this wild script out of the blue called Better Living Through Chemistry, and it's a black comedy that's quite outrageous. And I, for no discernible reason, I am the sort of I narrate the entire thing. You hear my voice commenting on what's going on, and then I don't want to give away. I do appear at the end, and it's a very, very funny bit, and it's just a lot of fun to do, and it's going to start the festival circuit probably next January. But that was very cool with Sam Rockwell and Olivia Wilde. Mm. And it's going to be very funny. It's quite outrageous. And then I got offered to play a cameo as Nancy Reagan in The Butler, which is based on a true story of a black man who grew up in the Jim Crow South. And the white woman of the plantation owner, played, thank you very much, by Vanessa Redgrave.
Aha. Back together again since Julia.
In a great scene, she says to him, I'm going to teach you to be a house nigger.
Oh.
Meaning, I'm going to help you better yourself. But in those days, that was,
a compliment.
It was a good thing she was offering him. And as a result of her, and can you imagine what Vanessa Redgrave is going to sound like saying that? I want to make you a house nigger.
Yeah.
And he becomes a butler in the White House through 5 administrations, starting with Truman, ending with Reagan. And so a lot of stars play cameos as the different presidents.
Wow.
And I get to play Nancy Reagan. And my Reagan is Alan Rickman, who...
What a pair.
I mean, when I first saw him in his Reagan persona, I started crying because he absolutely nailed him.
Well, the photograph that I saw of you as Nancy Reagan also took my breath away. I mean, it's cognitive dissonance given the political difference. Jane, when you were in New Orleans filming The Butler, did you get a chance to check out the Ninth Ward? Because I think another hurricane had just passed through. Yes?
Yes, filming was postponed for 2 weeks because of Hurricane Isaac, which of course hit on the anniversary of Katrina. Shortly after Katrina, I had gone to New Orleans to help raise money. We took over the Superdome and actually turned it into a huge vagina, where women who had been there during the hurricane, many of whom had been raped and abused and terrorized, and were brought back, and we raised money for all kinds of projects that were involved with women in New Orleans. And I visited the Ninth Ward then, and I wanted to go back. So while I was there working on The Butler, I went to the lower Ninth Ward. And, there's so many empty lots. So much has not been done. So many people never came back. These were homes that people owned that had been passed down in their family. Mm-hmm. And, they didn't have insurance.
Yeah.
And they've gone away and they've started new lives, and many of them haven't come back. Some have, but a great many haven't. But what is so beautiful in the middle of this is what Brad Pitt has done with his Do It Right project. You see all these houses that are being built. They're built to last. They're strong. They're solar. They're sustainable. They're all different. They each have their own personalities, and I could see on the faces of the people that are living there that they're happy.
Yeah.
It
cool.
just made me really happy to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it gives you hope. What intelligence on the airways gives me hope because of the new Sorkin series. There are problems with it, but you're not one of them. You are playing a mogulette. I
love being in a position where I'm part Ted Turner and part Rupert Murdoch-ish.
The only problem is a woman would never attain.
It would be quite unusual for a woman to attain that position in real life, but
right.
The day will come.
But
partly because of the work of the Women's Media Center, I believe.
I think we're trying.
But I tell you what, is it fun to be able to get those Sorkin words out of my mouth?
Of course.
And to work with Jeff Daniels and Sam Waterston. I mean, I just love being in the show, and I love that, I've been in Atlanta recently, and in Atlanta, you think, oh God, it's so conservative. People stopping me in the street saying, oh my gosh, I love the show so much, I'm addicted. I have a reason to watch television on Sunday night again. The other day, I go into Crate and Barrel, and I can't use a bad word but I have a great tagline in the first episode where I appear. Do you want to play golf, or do you want to around?
Yes, it's a
and
wonderful.
People come up and say that to me now. In Crate and Barrel, the saleswoman, she saw me coming and she said, "You want to play golf, or you want to F around?" It's a lot of fun.
You get the best lines, and it's definitely the best delivery. Also, you really, all the fitness pays off because you look like drop dead gorgeous.
Thanks.
I've told you many times before, it strains my sense of sisterhood. It's but I managed to transcend it. Being short, I take refuge in being, of the three of us, between tall, willowy, beautiful you and Gloria, I am the short literary one.
You're the short, brilliant one.
I'm the short literary one.
Who was a star before any of us.
Well,
I want to remind our listeners that you were second only to Shirley Temple as a child star in a television show, which I used to watch, called I Remember Mama, and you were Dagmar.
What is with you and Gloria keep outing me on this? It's hilarious. But yes, I was. And here, you want to know something hilarious, which is that I am, with this program, returning to the same network that Mama was on. And that I spent. It is very bizarre. It's it's totally surreal.
It's so great that our little radio station's been bought by CBS.
Yes, well, there you go. Now, listen, you are coming east, I think, for the Women's Media Center Gala, and you're going to present the first time we've given a Lifetime Achievement Award, and it's to Pat Mitchell.
And I am so excited about this because she is, one of my very best friends, and she is, everyone's unique, but she's more unique than most people. She's somebody who knows how to bring people together so that magic and heavy-duty social change happens. She just has an ability that no one else has to bring people together. And she runs the Paley Center for Media, and has turned it into a happening place that really makes a difference. And I'm just really excited about it. And the Ling sisters are going to be there, and all kinds of very important people.
We're giving them the Sisterhood is Powerful Award. And of course, we'll have a Blogger Award as well, which is voted for by the people who come to the website. But Pat, I'm just very thrilled at this because I cannot literally think of anybody who is more fitting for a Lifetime Achievement Award. She has been everything in media. She's been a reporter, she's been an anchor, she's been an editor, she's run networks, she's done programming, she was the head of PBS for a while. You name it, in media, and she's been it. And she's been it with extraordinary integrity, a real consciousness of feminism, a real commitment to women. And we're going to name the award after her ever hereafter. So it'll be the Pat Mitchell Lifetime Achievement Awards. So, and that you're presenting it is just makes it perfect, makes it really, really cool.
I'm just thrilled to be able to do it.
Well, we've come a long way from the time when you sat up in the room and said, well, why don't we just start a women's media center? And Gloria and I looked at each other and thought, well, I guess. And then you said, I'm going to put down a certain amount of money and we'll try to get somebody to match it. And we were off and running, and it was three crazy women, the Norns, I call us, or the Muses, and there, before you know it now, 7 years later, we have a radio show, we have a Lifetime Achievement Award, we have a gala.
We have one of the best websites around.
We
It's
do.
a fantastic website.
We do.
And we're making a difference.
We are making a difference. We've got a whole lot of male anchors apologizing for sexist remarks. We're working with young women. There's people who are hearing this can always go to the website, which is womensmediacenter.com. You're overhearing two very proud mothers here comparing baby pictures about the Women's Media Center. So anyway, I send you heaps of love. I look forward to seeing you very soon. Congratulations and mazel tov on the new house. Enjoy it and nest away.
You.
I send you lots of love, dear one. I hope you have a terrific rest of the day and weekend.
And I send love to our listeners, and stay tuned.
And that's it for this week. You've been listening to us on CBS Station 1580 gov.biz AM radio in Washington, D.C., and on the web at WMClive.com, which also has podcasts of previous shows. Remember to email us at womensmediacenterlive@gmail.com. Portions of this program were taped earlier. Views expressed here do not represent the WMC. Here's the family for Women's Media Center Live. WMC President and for this program Executive Producer Julie Burton, Senior Producer Crystal Williams-Chancellor, Technical Director Michelle Kinsey-Bruns, Production Assistant Nora Eakin, and our founding sponsor Regina Kulik-Scully. And I'm Robin Morgan. Make it a safe and happy New Year. And join us next week when we'll parse pending legislation, encounter a kind of Palestinian feminism you never hear about, and carouse for 2 segments with the brilliant Lily Tomlin. Saturday, 11 a.m. here at the Talk Show with a Brain, Women's Media Center, live.
Women's Media Center Live is brought to you by Regina Kulik-Scully, our founding sponsor. You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 gov.biz radio, a CBS station.